Well, I think that number is very sad in terms of the real economy, but in some ways it makes for a field day for Fed watchers because now the focus will be on the buildup, not just to the September 22nd announcement as to whether the Fed will begin tapering. It could be now November 3rd or December 15th. And so for the army of financial analysts who spend each day trying to guess whether the Fed is satisfied on the substantial further progress metric that they've established for deciding whether or not to taper their 120 billion in monthly purchases of government-backed debt, this is more grist for the mill. But I think you do have to ask why, if we are seeing people not going back to work, despite all of the help wanted signs everyone is seeing in so many shops and restaurants and service industries, if we're not seeing that, how can the solution be for the Fed to buy more Treasury securities, more agency mortgage-backed securities? I just don't understand how the Fed can justify its prolonged monetary accommodation. It's just more cowbell. It's always the solution.
Yeah, that's a Saturday Night Live reference, right? Everything's good with more cowbell. It's amazing that Chair Powell is up for maybe another term, and the far left don't think that he's actually dovish enough. And in your piece yesterday, I liked one of the comments, and that is the Fed is in there benefiting people not who live off paychecks, but people who live off portfolios. And therefore, if you accept that premise, and if the Fed ever looked closely enough at really what the end effect of some of its actions are, they would not want to do that. They would not want to, but by default, when you stay at zero, people that own stuff, their assets go up, and everybody else is sort of stuck in the muck. And I think if they realize that, they might try to get out of our lives a little quicker. Is that your point?
Well, yes. My point is the Fed is well-intentioned, and it does lament the fact that lower-income workers and minorities are not sharing in the benefits that monetary policy bestows on people who are invested in financial markets. But that I also fault the Fed for having policies that do slant financial rewards to one segment of society at the expense of others. Think of the people who have sacrificed each week to put a little bit away, and they put it into a bank savings account. They are getting nothing. Think of people on fixed incomes who now have to contend with inflation. And I do think that the increase in wage gains does filter ultimately into inflationary pressure, even if we do see that the Fed is now likely to delay tapering till further later in this year. So these people are punished. I don't think they're the ones who have great sway on Capitol Hill. And I just think that we can't have monetary policy that seems to be rigged in favor of big government, big corporations, big investors at the expense of people who have tried to do the right thing and be responsible for the retirement years, or to take advantage of, not advantage, it wasn't intended, but think of people who want to buy a house, those same low-income workers. The median price of a home is now $375,000. So even with rock-bottom mortgage rates, that does not make it affordable because it has pushed up the price of housing. And these things matter. The price of gas, these things matter to people who are working and who don't have time to be glued to their screens every time a Federal Reserve official gives some hint about their future actions. And it's only the people who are involved in financial markets who benefit from that, and it makes it worth it to them to pay attention to every nuanced statement.